Is there a complex or long-term project you're struggling to complete? Just thinking about it is a total downer. Maybe there's a new system you're trying to incorporate to make some kind of improvement and it's just not falling into place. You're no doubt experiencing what are called barriers to maintenance, and there are ways to break those down. Hi, I'm Alan Brown, productivity coach, #1 best-selling author, and host of CrusherTV at CrusherTV.com, where my guest experts and I share ways to unleash the power of your brain so you can get more done in less time with less stress. And I recently had a conversation with certified professional organizer and coach Sara Skillen, who shared insights on why we get bogged down on those major tasks or trying to incorporate a new system, and some simple tips for breaking through. Just to set this up, this was part of episode 91, Powerful Office Hacks They Don't Teach You in School or on the Job, in which I outline ways to master meetings, take more powerful, actionable notes, and tips for delegating work to others. You can watch the full episode as a member of CrusherTV at CrusherTV.com, but here is my conversation with Sara Skillen, who helps us break down the barriers to follow through and completion. Great to have you back, Sara.
It's good to be back.
I had to get you back on for this series of episodes on office mini hacks because a major issue for so many of us is follow through, keeping a new system in place until it becomes habit. It's like after that initial novelty or romance wears off, and this is what you call, I think, barriers to maintenance.
So this is a topic that comes up a lot. I wish I could, bottle the secret to the folks who are able to keep their new systems maintained. Because if I could do that, then I would probably put myself out of a job. But I think what happens many times, first of all, is if you've worked really hard on a new system and if you've taken the time to really think through what your personal needs are and how you need to organize something or how you need to structure something, you go through a lot of what I call decision fatigue. You've made tons and tons of decisions. Do I keep this? Do I let go of that? Do I choose this app? Do I read this book? What do I do? And then you go through all of that and you get to the end and you're tired, and so there's sometimes not a whole lot of motivation left over. The other thing is just what you said about the initial excitement. It's sometimes perceived as being boring after you get that new system set up and it's working well. The shininess wears off. So sometimes one of the things I will do with a client is have them take a picture of what a space or maybe their office or their file system or lack thereof, have them take a picture of that on the front end, because it's amazing how quickly they forget what that looked like or what that felt like on the back end. And sometimes that can be motivating to take them back and say, do you really want to go back to this again? Is this really where you want to be in 6 weeks from now? Or can you maybe, find the time to just a little bit every day, take some time and maintain this system?
Yeah, it reminds me of my negative nag hack. We need ways to fire us up. And taking before photos is a great way to remind us of that negative situation we want to move away from. It is like the love affair phenomenon, right? So how do you help your clients to keep the fires or the romance burning for their new systems?
Yeah, that's an interesting analogy, actually, because when I think about it, what I try to do with my clients is take a lot of time on the front end to create the right system for them, because what might work well for me is not necessarily what they need, or what works well for the latest productivity guru or person who's put out a book or whatever, that may or may not work well for them. So just like you would hopefully take a lot of time to find the right love, so to speak, and you'd ask a lot of questions and you would put a lot into making sure that that was the right match, I really encourage clients to take a lot of time on the front end to find that match for their own life, the way it works for them. So making sure that whatever organizing system is set up is really user friendly for them. Something else that I do with myself, actually, and I sometimes tell clients about this, I have people play games with themselves. So if they've got a new system that they're trying to maintain, let's say you're going to make sure that you prioritize your tasks every morning, and you're going to make sure that you pick the ones that you've got to get done that day. maybe tell yourself, and this is just small, but for some reason it seems to work, tell yourself you can't have your second cup of coffee until you've done those tasks. Or let's say you want to make sure that you're going to get all your laundry put away. Maybe you've had an issue with that. Tell yourself if you're going to get it all put away, or at least a chunk of it taken care of, then you can listen to the podcast you've been wanting to listen to, or you can download a song or whatever. Just some kind of little something that you tell yourself you can't have until you take care of the small task that adds to the overall routine.
So it's understanding yourself and how you operate. I totally get that. That helps you to choose the right systems, and then rewarding yourself helps you stay with a new system. But what are some of the tripwires that can throw you off?
Sure, those are the barriers to maintenance we were talking about. And what I've identified is three different things, basically. First of all, there's physical barriers. So if you're, say, vertically challenged like I am, and you need to be able to reach something easily, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to put it up somewhere high. And it's amazing how much that physicality influences people, and they don't even realize it. I remember when I was first organizing, I had a client, an attorney, wanted me to come in and help with their office. Great. So I show up and the office is spotless. I mean, there's literally, I can't see anything out of place. I can't figure out what's wrong, and I'm a little panicked. And as we talked, he said, I just don't feel comfortable in here. I don't feel effective. I feel like I'm not getting things done the way I need to. And as we went through some things, it occurred to me to ask him whether or not he was right or left-handed. And so he was left-handed. And when I looked at his desk, the phone was on the left-hand side, and all the writing stuff, all the pens and pencils were on the right-hand side, which meant that to answer the phone and take notes, he had to reach one way and then reach another way. And it sounds so elementary, but neither one of us, until we started talking, had thought about it. And making that simple change made a huge difference. And there are other things that we talked about as well, just like the arrangement of his desk and the printer and all that kind of stuff. It just wasn't set up for him physically, and it was keeping him from doing the things that he needed to do. So physical things is the first one. The other things are irritations, little annoying things that bother you, and you have to develop an awareness around them. So for instance, I have people who we want to reorganize their closet. And I really like the hangers that have the velvet on them. I'm crazy about those hangers, but I know people who can't stand them. But because somebody told them they should have them, they went out and bought all these hangers, but they don't like them because the clothes stick to them or they get lint on them. I mean, it's just little nitpicky things, and they end up not hanging anything up, and everything's just in a pile in the closet. So little irritations like that can keep people from maintaining a system. And then the last thing is complication. And you mentioned that earlier. People very often get enamored with really complex systems. I was talking with a client once about their calendar and their to-dos and their schedule and everything, and they wanted to have a paper planner, which is great. I think it's fine. But then they also wanted to back it up and be able to use their phone. And so they were going to transfer things from their phone to the paper calendar. And then they wanted a system of Post-it notes that they stuck on the wall. And then as they took, they wanted to take the Post-it notes down as they got things accomplished. And all of that is great. But all of it together didn't make a whole lot of sense. And after I listened to them, I repeated that back. And I said, do you see anything that would prevent you from maintaining this? And they kind of let out a sigh and said, yeah, I'm just not going to do that. There's just too much to do in that system. And so the complication is something to take a look at. The easier it is, the more stupidly intuitive it is, I guess to say, is the better and the easier it's going to be for people to maintain things long term.
This really makes it easier for us to wrap our heads around when we're trying to follow through with a new system or build a positive new habit. And you look for the tripwires, like physical barriers. Does this system make sense for me physically? Irritations, is there some part of the system that's going to be irritating to me and throw me off? And then, of course, complications. Am I creating a system that's just too complicated to actually be workable? Indeed, barriers to maintenance. I love it. Now, Sara, tell us where folks can find you And you have a great newsletter, wonderful newsletter that folks might want to sign up for.
They can be in touch with me at skillsetorganizing.com. You can sign up for my free newsletter there. You can also find me on Twitter at Sara Organizes. And you can also find me on Facebook, Skillset Organizing on Facebook.
Awesome. Wonderful to have you back. And let's do this again real soon.
Great. Thank you.